Here we have a speech given by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, written in a book called Likuti Sichot. Likuti Sichot alef. There's like about 40 of these compilations, and that's just the first earlier books of the speeches that the Rebbe gave. And this one talks about Purim. And these are just from the earlier years that the Rebbe spoke. This particular Sicha that the Rebbe is speaking over here, it came from 1960, 1957, Purim. The Yom Tov, the holiday of Purim, is to leave them, is because of the fact that there was a nes, a big miracle, when Atzala and a salvation of the Jewish people was which their Eibishter, which God had get of it, he saved the Yidden, the folk, the whole Jewish people from their gezerah, from Kalia, from total destruction. Yet at the Kufa, and that back then is given al piteva was according to nature, according to logic, the gelichter, the best, the luckiest, the most successful from Yidden in the Zeit from Gullus, in the time we are in exile. And it was when the Jewish people had the Holy Temple, especially the first temple, time of King Solomon, was wonderful. But in time of exile, the Jewish people were always persecuted, etc. Not the case before Purim. And the right before Purim, the holiday of Purim, was the best that there was in the history of Judaism without the exile, incomparable to what it is even now. The Yidden have been done, the Jews were Farnuman and Greuser, or they took a very big part in the Regierung, in the government. Mordechai, Rosh Sanhedrin. Mordechai, he was the head of the the Sanhedrin, the governing body of the Jewish people, is given from the Saria Malucha. He was one of the highest officials in the government, Hayoshim Bishar Melech, that was in the gate of the king, sat in the gate of the king. That's how it starts. Esther is given the Froy. Esther was the queen from the king of the world. We don't have such a thing nowadays. The king, a king of the world, and Achashverosh was the king of the whole world, and his wife was Jewish. It was Ishto Kagufo, which the wife of a person is like his body. In other words, she had a tremendous influence on him. In the ganze Divrei Yemei Israel, the whole history of the Jewish people, B'zman Galus, in the time of exile, we'd never find them fall from Esther, except for this occasion, when Esther was the queen, as a Yiddish approach that a Jewish woman should be the wife of the king, which he had herrshed, he ruled over the whole entire world. Is doch verstanden, so it's understood as es is nit gewen kein tekufa. This is not a time really of exile. In welcher Yidden haben sein, which the Jews had, according to nature, mehr sicher, to be more certain of themselves, mit sein existence, with their existence in the time of Ahasuerus. That was the most secure time in Jewish history. The poil, but what happened, however, hat parstir there occurred, verkehrt, exactly the opposite. Grad done. Then alpiteva, even though that then, according to nature, is ein matzav given as oizira, they were so certain, so secure. Is gekommen, there came a decree from far nichten, from totally destroying Rahman al all the Jews, Lashmid la rogel abedet kol Yudim, to destroy all of the Jews. Hayalotiyah, should never be such a thing again. Minarva zaken. This is the decree of Haman, from the young till the old, taf, babies, women, biyom echad in one day. Was does is given, this was the schwerster from all the gezeras. This is the worst decree which ever was in the history of Judaism, ever. Kain mol is nit given a gezerah. There was never such a decree of total liquidation, Rahman etzlan, of all the Yidden, all the Jews. Vida gezerah, like in the days of Achashverosh. They went from the best to the very worst There's never been a better time for Jews in the time of the exile, and never been a worse time for the Jews in the time of exile. Not at any time. Worst time of the Jews. In Adon Golis and the other times of exile, seine Yidden nit given in Ein Ort, the Jews were not all in one place. Tzedakah HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that God had mercy on the Jewish people, that He scattered them among the non-Jews. After the second temple was destroyed, after the first temple was destroyed, they were pretty much concentrated around in Babylon, and then when the king of Persia, that's what happened here. They were scattered around pretty much in one area. But after the exile, at the second, is God scattered the Jews all over the world. Oiv Chas v'Shalom is a ummah of one nation. And now if one nation wants to make a decree of destroying the Jews, if the Yidden is under its rulership, wherein the Yidden, then the Jewish people in Ibrika Medinas, in other countries, the other countries, Blaben Schrecken, they are not threatened. Unafilu the Yidden from their Medina, and even the Jews in that country where there is the decree, and there's got a place to run away to. In Andra Medinas, right? Hitler wanted to kill the Jews, but a Jew could escape. They could escape to Russia. They would at least have some place to run away to. Afilu b'yamei Paro, even in the days of Paro, when all the Yidden, when all the Jews were under his rulership, there was no possibility to run away from Egypt, like it says that there was never in the history of Egypt back then that one slave could escape from there. But there wasn't, Paro didn't make a decree to kill everybody. Paro said only to kill the males. In the days of Achashverosh, however, Zayin and all the Yidden, all the Jews were under his rulership. As is oich nit kemen kain meglichet, there was no possibility to run away. There was nowhere to run away from, and there's no possibility to run away. Why? Because is given a molech bekipa. He ruled the whole entire world. A melech iber the ganze Welt. He ruled the whole world. Bemel is nit given vuin zu laufen. No matter where the Jews went, they were under his rulership and under his decree. Number two, Ered Gavolt Hashmid, he wanted to kill all the Jews in one day. Is nit given kind sight, there was no time to run away. Number three, the Gezer is given Hashmid, the Kol Yudim, the decree was on all of the Jews, not like on Paro, just only the males. And I can add also that in all the other times, the who was supposed to do the killing of the murdering, who was supposed to be the ones that exterminated the Jews, who they were soldiers, they were special people. Here, everybody in the whole entire world was commanded by the king to kill the Jews. The Jews were going to be killed. If you want to call it the lucky thing or the unlucky thing, was it that the decree was made a year before it was supposed to be carried out. Haman threw lots, and they came out to kill the Jews in the 12th month, and he was in the first month of the year. Okay, but the Jews, no matter where they ran, their next door neighbors would see where they're running to, right? They couldn't get away. So how could it be such a zeit and at such a good time, which the Jews, according to nature, they were so secure, could come such a terrible decree? As they're telling the Gemara, it says the Gemara, the Talmud, as the Siba from the reason from the decree is Mishum Shenanu Misuda Sashal to Russia, because they all went to the meal of Achashverosh and they enjoyed it. Zehaben Hanagat, they had pleasure from the meal of Achashverosh. From this, what was the meal of Achashverosh? Achashverosh made a calculation that the Jewish people, he knew the prophecy of Jeremiah. He knew that the Jewish people were supposed to be in exile for 70 years, and then they were going to come back. And according to his calculation, the 70 years already finished. So he figured that's it. The Jewish people have been abandoned by God. The Jewish prophets are not accurate. And now I can rule the world. There won't be any competition whatsoever, the Jews. So he made a big party. And the Jews believed it, and they came to the party. From them, according to some opinions, they eat not kosher food there. They drank. From them, Zenmin, we can see B'Shem clearly as Yidden und Teva, the nature, Jews and nature, seine zwei gar verschiedene Sachen, are two opposite things. Two different things, not opposite. The Anhagov mit Yidden, the conduct of Jews is nicht untergeworfen, is not controlled to natural gesetzen, by natural laws. Nor is it abgehängt, it depends only on doing Torah and the commandments. Und therefore, is nicht gekommen, there was not, was mitzade, a teva, according to nature, kein Ort of a gezerah, there was no place for such a decree. Aber when the Jews haben Nene given from the meal of the Oto Russia, und durch them, by means of this, came a connection. The connection mit nicht kein kosher Sachen, they were in contact with not kosher food, and some of them ate. Is euch gekommen a gezerah kali Rahman Islam. Then their supernatural protection came away, left. So here we have a very interesting thing. Look at it's the same thing with Haman, with Hitler, with this. Why did they want to kill the Jews? What have they got against the Jews? What have they got against? What did the Jews do? Right? I mean, they had actual facts. The Jews were actually planning to take over the world. Actually, like there are these books written, the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. They have actual facts that any of this stuff is true. All of the Jews are in one big, right? The Jews are all the same thing. No, if you want to say the Jews are taking over the world, so find out, make a trial. Any Jews that are trying to take over the world. So those Jews, want to kill all the Jews, the babies, the women, the children, the elders, want to kill. What's this idea of just hating a person because he's a Jew? What's this idea? Because he's a Jew. All of the Jews have this thing which is called being a Jew, and you have to destroy it. Why? What is so bad about being a Jew? And there's a lot of Jews that they deny their Judaism. They want nothing to do with Judaism. And especially if you look at the Jews have this big plan to take over the world. You see, Jews can't get along together. The Jews just can't get along. They can't agree on anything. Look at Israeli politics. As soon as you get two Jews, you got 10 different opinions. Right? And they're all, one thing they all agree on, they're going to take over the world. It's their nature to take over the world. So the whole thing doesn't really hold water. Why exactly? But it's a fact. People hate Jews. Why? Because the whole reason they hate Jews is because Jews are God's people. Whether they want it or not, whether they agree with it or not, whether they deny it or not, whether they know it or not. Nevertheless, the Jews are God's people. And there's people that hate God. They hate God. They don't want to be told what to do. No one's going to tell me what to do. I'm going to do what I want. And the Jewish people, they're the representatives of God. God gave the Torah. The Torah tells everybody what to do, and people don't like it. And people don't like it, so they hate Jews. Very strange. Is oiv zei gekommen a gezerah, there was a decree of total destruction. As soon as the Jews leave God, and God protects them, Jews are less than everybody else, and God miraculously protects them, despite what the Zionists say, and we got our army protects us. And it's just what it was there a few years ago. The Arabs around us, they shot 4,500 missiles at us, 4,500 missiles. And the army did almost nothing. The Air Force, nothing. They like stopped. They had anti-rockets that knocked down 70 of their rockets. 500 of their rockets had knocked, but they shot 4,700 rockets at us. They shot, and we brought down 500, and that shows that we are the ones that protected us. What happened? There's another 4,000, 3,800 rockets. They don't know who stopped those rockets. They're bad shots. Good, so they're bad shots. Let's say. On 2,700 of those rockets, they shot 1,000 rockets. Who stopped the rockets? Right? There was the wind. There was this. Okay, good. The wind stopped. There was 500 rockets that they stopped. That God stopped. Right? From 4,700, we did it ourselves. 5,000. Who stopped them? Well, let's change the subject. I already explained 4,200. I think that's enough. It's the amazing miracles that God is protecting us. When the Jews deny that, so then it's possible for there to be, God willing, the frightening decrees of Haman. Now, the Rebbe is not trying to say that we deserve it, it's our fault, it's our problem, right? It's like a soldier that goes into war and he doesn't put on his helmet. It's not he gets a punishment because he didn't put on his helmet. The helmet simply protects him. The same thing. Jewish people are surrounded in the world by non-Jews. You want to pretend you're not Jewish? That's what they tried to do in Germany. It's not going to work. Right? You want to make a country and then say, no, we're just like everybody else. We're a nationality. It doesn't work. The whole world, the United Nations hates that Israel. No reason whatsoever. We're the Nazis. The fact is the Rebbe is trying to point the Jews back to their true identity, and that's Torah and the commandments. And when that happens, Torah and the commandments, that's their true identity. If even nevertheless the non-Jews want to destroy us, we do. At least we're doing who we are. They're going to try to destroy us anyway, right? The United Nations, for instance, they vilify and they condemn the Israelis, even when they do nothing. So do something, but at least do something. Do what they say. Base. The Zelber Hora, the same thing. Zen min oich. We can see clearly in them oifen in the way from the salvation of the Jews. The bittul a gezerah, the negation of this decree is not given al piteva, wasn't according to nature. Nor derech tshuva, it was by means that all the Jewish people, they all of a sudden repented. They turned back to their true identity. They woke up, returned to consciousness. When he's conscious and they attach themselves to God. B'shas Mordechai, when Mordechai and Esther, when they knew from this decree, haben sie in Plug, they at first glance, the first thing they should have done was diplomacy. Messiah sich mishtadel, they should have tried by Achashverosh to make some sort of a lobby by Achashverosh. It says that in the Megillah that what happened, the first thing that Esther said was, the Mordechai, go, gather all the Jews together that are found in Shushan. That was the main city. The Jews were all over the world, but the main, the concentration of Jews was in Shushan. That was the capital city. But Sumolai, and they should fast for me. They shouldn't eat or drink 3 days. But 3 days don't. Das ist gewesen erster Shrit. There was the first step of Mavatal to negate the decree of Achashverosh. Noch mehr, even more. Esther had gesagt, she said to Mordechai, I and my girls, my attendants, will also do the same thing. We'll also fast. Lechora, as is Chashivas by Achashverosh, the whole connection with Esther to Achashverosh is given was there batisachin v'chesed lafanav b'kol betulot, that Achashverosh liked her physically. She found favor in his eyes from all of the other women, right? Achashverosh said that he had all the other women, years he gathered all the women. Every night he slept with another woman to see which one was going to find favor in his eyes. And I mean, there must have been beautiful women over there. And from all of the women that were in the country, as all of a sudden, Esther was the one that he liked. She was the one that found favor in his eyes. So the whole connection was her, at least was a physical one. Self-verstandig, so it's understood. It's self-understood. As durach fasten, by means of fasting for 3 days, that this her attractiveness, according to nature, it didn't increase her beauty. On Arab, exactly opposite. Cleaner, it would be less. Hind is by year given recht to fasten. You want to win a beauty contest, you don't fast for 3 days and don't eat or drink for 3 days. You'll end up looking terrible. Nor the Enford, also it says in the Gemara that a person that doesn't eat for 3 days, that his breath is bad, is the unattractive, that's what she does before going into seeing the king. Nor the Enford, the answer is like this. Punkt V, just like the decree, is not according to nature. All of a sudden, like it says, like a lightning bolt in a clear, beautiful day, there came this decree to kill all the Jews from nowhere. The Jews were sitting so high. All of a sudden came this terrible decree. Esther realized that the reason for the decree was not because the king was manic depressive or something. One day he likes the Jews, one day he hates them. She realized that this was a decree that came above nature. And the only way to fix it is also going above nature, to return to the creator of the universe. Azoy is the Yeshua, the salvation, it cannot come in a natural way. The Yeshua, the salvation, is gekumen by tshuva, has to be coming by repentance, return. Einer from the Inyane tshuva, and one of the things of doing tshuva is fasting to fast. When oiv kol Yehudim, and if all the Jews which were in Shushan, if they would all fast, is dach and iser oiv yachid to zayin a purish, meaning them that it's forbidden for anyone to separate from the crowd, from the group. It's clear, it's obvious that Esther said, also if there's a decree on all the Jewish people, I'm also Jewish, I'll also fast 3 days. Durch them, maybe by means of this, my beauty and my attractiveness to Achashverosh will be less. And it's also true that we're not supposed to rely on miracles. Men for Allah's nitoif the kindness, you're not supposed to rely on miracles. Men darf ton, oich and levush yetav, you have to do things in a natural way. And thus is aber nit mer via levush, it's only a garment. Right? You want to make money, you have a family, you have to make money. You can't go out and say, God, please give me money, and sit at home and learn Torah, and the money's going to come in. It doesn't work that way. You have to do natural things in order to make money. But you have to know that the natural things are only a garment. Well, nit the siba, and it's not the cause from the Exile, in this case, from saving the Jews. And therefore, it's not relevant feel how much garments you put on. The siba, if the reason, starken, zich, and kiyam Torah mitzvahs, the reason for the decree was that they were weak in their connection to God, and the cure is going to be strengthening themselves in their connection to God, as vetzain genugendiker, to making the vessel is even a little vessel will be enough. As vet a schwacher levush v'gud zayin, then even a weak garment will be good enough. In other words, what does she have to do? She had to go in to see the king and plead for her people. And the law was over there, it says in the Megillah, that anyone who had not been called to see the king and went in anyway would die, unless the king extended his scepter. And so Esther was taking a big chance. She had not been called for 1 month to see the king. Nevertheless, she took a chance, went in. Now she figured, she'd open up the door, she'd come in, and here's this bedraggled, skinny, the bad-smelling lady coming in, and this is the opposite of what I married. I didn't marry a person like this. You think that he would say, King Achashverosh would say, kill her, have it, get her out of here. What type of mistake did I make? But she didn't make any of those calculations. She realized that the real problem here was the lack of connection of the Jewish people to God. So she said, we have to connect to God. What about beauty and those things? I said, I'll go in, right? I'm his wife. That's going to be the natural garment that I'm going to go in. But the main inside of it, what's going to really cause the salvation is not my beauty. It's going to be God. But because of the concealment of the exile, as Zayin and Darna, side the Gezerah, both the decree and also the way of saving, it has to come by nature. True, it has to come by nature, right? Haman was a bad guy, and he stood up and he was anti-Semite. And how do we cure it? Esther has to go in to see the king, right? Why did Esther have to go and see the king? Everybody should have just prayed that Haman would die and Esther and Achashverosh would change his mind. No, things had to go in a natural way. But the emes hasiba, but the real reason is because of the Torah and the commandments. They're nanu, the fact that they got pleasure from the meal of Achashverosh, of that evil king, hot gebrach, that's what brought the decree and the fasting and repentance of the Jewish people. This is what's going to save them. The anweising from them, what's the lesson we can learn from this? And especially nowadays, says the Rebbe. For there are certain Jews, was time that they say, as the ikar mitten zum mittel, that the man means zum kiyum from Yiddish folk, from the Jewish people, is the tzeit from Gullus nowadays is diplomacy. Un enliche tirele natural, I'm sorry, and similar natural ways. Und they bring in Orion, they bring a proof from Esther, that Esther had to go in and see the king. Darf man Vazen, you have to know, as Oyser, them, besides the fact, was they zayin and megal panim Torah shalok halacha, which this is, do you want to bring a proof from the Torah for a thing like this, you're bringing a proof for a thing that's the opposite of the Torah. They teach and ois, they explain, they understand the story from the Megillah Esther exactly the opposite of what's true. Is thus oicha kafir, and not only that, it is a total denial in the whole idea of what the Jewish people are for. As stated, it says, Atem netzavim hayom kulchem. I mean, this is essentially what the Rebbe is talking about. Mainly is, in a big way, is Israel. They've wanted to make a country and be like everybody else, and they'll have a nice, strong army with planes and everything, and that's what's going to save us. Says the Rebbe, listen, you have to have a country, very nice, you have to have an army. Well, that's a good thing, an army does, but that's not what's going to save you. Right? The other nations have armies that are 10 times, 20 times as big. As if so, we're going to lose. We have to have our army has to be bigger, has to be stronger. What if their army is bigger and stronger? Then we're finished. It says by you Jews are standing today. The Zagan of them, the result, the rabbis say, that even if the whole world is shaking like it is now, the Jewish people will always be standing firmly. Their kiyum, from addition the existence of Jews and Judaism, their kiyum from alef of Judaism is always firm. The kiyum from alef the existence from all the other nations is like natural, because is because according to nature, right? One nation conquers another nation. That's nature. Aber Yidden seien nicht verbunden mit Teva. Jews are not attached to nature. Hear the story. What was the story of Purim? Achashverosh the king. Right before Achashverosh was the king, he was the king of Persia. Before that, there was Nebuchadnezzar. He was the king of Babylon. Babylon was the big country. They took over the whole world. They were the ones that destroyed the temple. All of a sudden came another king, Koresh, and he conquered him, and that's it. No more Babylonians. You ever see a Babylonian walking around the streets? No more Babylonians, right? They have maybe in museums, they found something from Babylon. What about Persians? Persians from ancient Persia. You see ancient Persians walking around. People, right? Iranians. That's a total different thing than the Persians back then. What happened to all of them? Right? They were huge, amazing nations. The Romans, the Greeks, they're nothing. They're gone. What about the Jews? They were not big and they were not powerful and they were nothing. And here they are. They're still here. The Jewish people, as soon as they start thinking, well, we got to be nature, we got to have a big army. That's going to be our salvation. Good, have an army, no problem. Want to have an army? Wonderful. The Jewish people is whenever they could, they had the land of Israel. Great, want to have the land of Israel, but don't think that that's your existence. The Jews are not the existence of the Jews under Farbund. Our connection, our certainty is only with Torah and the commandments. As es kommt as, when it comes as the time, a tzora, a difficult time, oder a gezerah Rahmanistan, or a terrible decree, is darfa min sich nit verlassen auf diplomatische. We can't rely on diplomacy. Und ishtadlus by the Umas Olam and by the other nations. Nit durch them is unser kiyum. That's not where we're going to succeed and exist. As darf sein yipashvesh myself, we have to think about our deeds. Verrichtenen was es felt, fixing up what is lacking in our connection to God. Und starken sich in kiyum to mitzvahs, doing Torah and the commandments. Und demelt, and then help die stalus, then it'll work any sort of efforts that we make according to nature. Und noch mehr and even more. Afiloib andere in azoy matzav, even if other people in such a situation that we're in. Volt bederech hateva farlazen farlergevar in other. So even if other nations in such a situation, they would be destroyed. From das wegen atem nitzavim, Jewish people, we exist. In other words, if Any other nation in the world, take any nation you want to, if they were in the same situation as us, they were outnumbered as we are, if they had such terrible, incredibly terrible leaders as that we have, and they're always wanting to give back lands, and they're ashamed of themselves, and they sit in the United Nations and they curse us out, and we just quiet. We say, no, we didn't mean it, we didn't do it. It's this, and all of them make this condemnations of Israel. Every day there's another condemnation, and we just sit there and listen to it, right? But any other nation in the world, they would be exterminated, right? I don't know, is there another nation that's as small and has as few many people? I don't know, the Ghana or someplace like that. If everybody hate the Ghanaians, or the Eritreans, they hated them like they hated the Jews, that would be it, right? It would just be a couple of weeks or something and they would be finished. And the Jewish people have been like this for 2,000 years since the temple was destroyed. 2,000 years. It says that's one of the proofs that God is with the Jewish people, is that it's 70 sheep, 70 wolves in one cage with one sheep for 2,000 years, and the sheep is unharmed. Men darf sich nicht schrecken, you should not be afraid. You should not be afraid from what, with the situation of the Jews. Vimenzen, you should see with the fleshige eyes. When a person sees with his naked eye, al pi chokei teva, that according to nature, according to nature, we have no choice. Don't pay any attention to it. We have no chance. Don't pay attention to it. Unser Zach is starken sich in Torah mitzvahs. Our whole thing is strengthening the Torah and the commandments. There's no other nation like that. And Demelt, and then is velcha levush, no matter what garment, physical garment you have, vet zich in him, unten, whatever you put on, the salvation will come. The Torah, the teaching is like this to Jews. Seine nit undergeworfen, the Jews are not under the laws of nature. Is nit nor benogea. This is not only in regarding to all of the Jewish people, but in every single individual Jew. A yid darf gedenken. A Jew has to think and understand. As alle in remember, you have to remember. As alle in yani was farmak that he does. Seinen abgehanget from Kuman, from their Eibishter alone. Everything comes from God alone. Welcher is nit begrenzt, and God is not limited, chas v'sholom, in chukei teva. Emes, it's true, as is darv zayin, der b'kol asher taseh. You have to have a job, you have to have a work. You can't just go into the hospital and say, I can make brain operations. You got to go to the school, you have to learn, right? You have to be trained. True, you have to do things in a natural way. Was in them, and then God will bless you. Does his aber mir nit be a levush? It's only a garment. The main thing is the blessing of God. The Hakum Torah, which comes by the connection with the Jews through learning Torah and doing the commandments. When you have the main thing, main Jewish identity is the Torah and the commandments, then your success will be a garment. Doesn't make any difference what you do, right? You can be a shoe shiner. There'll be a blessing in it. Then, Vetman, by means of this, Vetman oich verstehen, now we can also understand was es steht, like it says in the Gemara Yushalmi. Shemamin b'Hashem olam v'zoreah. Seid, weil geläubt und verlosen sich auf der Eibishter as vet wachsen. It says that Jewish farmers are not Jewish farmers. The Jewish farmers, they pray to God, they believe in the creator of the world, and then they plant. That's Jewish farmers. Says the Rebbe, this makes no sense. What type of faith is this? Afilu kofrim, even people that don't believe in God at all. They don't believe in God. They also plant. They also plant. It's a natural thing. As when men zayt wächst, when you plant seeds, it grows up. Nor than pshat. I mean, there's billions of people in the world. How many people of them really believe in God? How many believe in God? And they all eat bread. Where does the bread come from? From farmers. All the farmers believe in God? Of course not. And even the Jewish farmers, how many of them actually believe in God? Nevertheless, everybody grows wheat exactly the same thing. What do we have to believe in? What's the point? No, the Pashad, it means, as the Amunah from the Jews is in exactly that even when we're talking about natural things, things which are b'shem for clearly, as we see clearly, as thus is in plug nit with Amunah. This has nothing to do with faith or trust in God, and God being a farmer. What's it got to do with God? Arrow lines that you can see as by a zoinat, by other people, was haben nit kein Zutan. They have no connection with God whatsoever. Their grains also grow up. From Deswegen, nevertheless, a Jew knows as heir that he, als Yid, because he's a Jew, is anders, he's different from everybody else. Varum, because punkt the Klal Yisrael, just like all the Jewish people, azoy oich yechid, also it is with each and every individual Jew, is nit unter Gvarfen, he is not under the laws of nature. And therefore, Wesener, he knows, as oich b'shas by der ganzen Welt, by the whole world, that wachsen will grow up, mitzad chuki teva, because of nature, vet by him, aber wachsen nor durch seine Emunah, by his faith, und bitachon, and his trust in God. God made a world. The world goes whether you believe in God or not. That's nature. That's what nature is. The trick is, do you believe in God? Like the Holy Temple. The Holy Temple was a building like every other building. It was made by bricks, with bricks that are under the laws of nature, how it goes, the laws of gravity, the laws of whatever it is, about adherence, whatever. Right? It's the same thing. It's a building like every other building. But in that building, there was a revelation of God. What does that do? What does that do? God is our creator. And if we choose to serve God, that makes God happy. What are we going to get out of it? Let's say nothing. Let's say the fact of the matter is it's a better life. It's a more meaningful life because you're living according to the truth. But let's say you get nothing. That's the whole trick. The whole thing is the place when it's darkness. Nevertheless, we believe in the creator of the universe because there is a creator of the universe. Because the creator is the universe. He just creates it in such a way that you don't see him. The Hatzlacha, the true success in Torah, is not to deal that a person is a genius or that he's got special talents, etc. Nor mitzayet d'shmai, with the help of God, which comes through fear of God, which this fear of God bringt oyes comes as zal lernen be'amal, that a Jew should learn Torah with making effort and working, true work. And then matzata, then if you really work hard, it's very difficult, then you find it. Feel mer vi be'erech hayagia from derech hamatzia, like something, like a person, you find something, right? You had to go out in the street and walk, but all of a sudden you find $1,000 laying there. Well, right, if you didn't go out, you had to do something, but you find nobody gets paid $1,000 for walking on the street. You found it. The same thing, you learn Torah, it's a finding. You find new things. All of a sudden there's new things. If nothing else, then happiness, peace of mind, that at least you know you're doing the right thing. Oy, best felt dicker, but if the main thing is lacking, help it. It's not going to help all of your talents and all of your efforts. Farum, because thus is chachmaso shel. This is the wisdom of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because this is the wisdom of God. The Torah is the wisdom of God. And at a time when a person has the main thing, namely that he learns the Torah, is connected to the Torah and to Judaism, as vet as the Eibishter, then God will give a success which is above nature. And that is exactly what happened in the Holiday of Purim, right? Here we see the Jewish people, they were distant from God, they distanced themselves from God, and it was great. It worked fantastically. They were invited to the meal of the king, and they were sitting high, right? A Jewish lady was the queen of the whole entire world. There was nothing better than that. But all of a sudden, the whole thing turned around. Now, the Rebbe is not threatening us and saying that if you don't do what I say, you're going to get another helmet. That's not what he's saying. But what he is saying is that Jews are not natural. And as soon as a Jew starts acting natural, then everything comes natural. We're outnumbered. We have no chance. What's going to be, right? It happens though that God is amazingly, I want to call it merciful. He loves the Jewish people without any conditions, And especially now when he's seen all the Holocaust and the terrible things happened to the Jews because they left God, it doesn't work. The Jewish people don't turn back to God. So now God makes miracles, whether the Jewish people do Torah, they don't do Torah. He does amazing miracles anyway. That's when I have a long story, but I use this story all the time now. We once went to Lebanon. This was the last day of the first Lebanon war. It was like in the 80s. And it's a long story, but anyways, there was a whole group of soldiers, and I went to one of them. They were sitting in jeeps. There was a row of jeeps, and I went to one of them had tefillin and asked them if you wanted to put on tefillin. We got a special permission to go into Beirut. So the first guy in his jeep he put on. The second guy, he started cursing me out and he was yelling at me. And the Jewish people, the religious people, you religious people, you're terrible and you're parasites and this and screaming. And so the third guy, he called me. He said, Rabbi, if I put on tefillin, will God protect me? Because they were going out to do something, I don't know, some sort of a foray or something. So I said to him, I left the guy who was cursing me out, and I went to him and I said, listen, whether you put on tefillin or not, God will protect you. Because you're a Jew, and God loves you, and you're doing a good thing. You're protecting the Jewish people. I said, but if God protects you for free, so do something for him for free. Put on tefillin. So he said, okay. So he put on. The second guy, that was cursing me out. He just finished cursing me out. He called me back. He rolled up his sleeve, and I didn't ask him any questions. I put on tefillin with him. I said, what happened? Before you were cursing me out, you cursed out everybody in my family. I thought maybe you thought of some cousin or something that you didn't curse out. What did you? I thought, that's why you're calling me back. Why do you put on tefillin? He said, I heard what you said to that third guy. I heard what you said. Said to put on tefillin in order to save my life, to put on tefillin in order to go to heaven, to put on tefillin in order not to go to hell. No way. I'm not going to do it. But to put on tefillin for no reason, that I'm willing to do. And there was some way down deep inside of the Jewish person, he knows that God is going to love him no matter what. So maybe I should repay God a little bit. That's also called doing tshuva, returning to God a little bit what we owe him. The story of Purim is telling us that the Jews are not a normal people in any way. And the main thing is not the existence of the Jews. The main thing is the existence of God. And what God is, how God is creating everyone. God loves everyone, that God gave the Torah. And all the enemies of the Jews are only enemies of God. They're trying to deny God. They're trying to deny the Torah. They're twisting the Torah. They're twisting the Jewish people. But in the end, they want to liquidate the Jews. All of them. Even the ones that claim to love the Jews and we're our friends and we live Zionists and we did this, right? We love the Jews. They want to destroy the Jews. They want intermarriage. There won't be any more Jewish people anymore. That's what they want. Amazingly, God saves us from all these people. Amazingly, right? The government of Israel invites them all in. These crazy, the decadent parades and the missionaries filled with this terrible, awful. All their whole thing is just that they give land to the Arabs. They're inviting us in. They're totally open. They've got it's like AIDS. There's no immune system. They're just opening up the whole country, and nevertheless, God protects us. And the Arabs are shooting missiles at us, and they're all over the place, and they're killing. And the whole United Nations is against us, but God protects us. And this has been going on this way for 2,000 years. Says the Rebbe, isn't it time that we take the message of Purim? When there was this decree, it was just to wake the Jews up. And as soon as the Jews woke up, there was an amazing miracle. And that's the holiday that we're going to be celebrating, God willing, this Wednesday evening. Huh? That's the okay. Let's do the. Here we go. Here it is. My father writes in one of his letters, one act is better than 1,000 groans. Our God is alive, and Torah and mitzvahs are eternal. Stop groaning, start the work, do the commandments, connect to God, and God will be gracious to you. Next day, let's see, how do we turn the page over here? Here we go. The intense longing to be bound to the Rebbe can be satisfied only by learning Maimorim of Chassidut, that the Rebbe delivers as oral discourses. The idea of the Rebbe is, like we said with Moses, that he builds up the connection we have to the creator of the universe. Learn the Chassidut of the Rebbe. Simply seeing the Rebbe is not enough. You have to learn the ideas of Chassidut. That's why everyone should come and learn with us, or at least look at by the way, everybody, we had a class on Thursday morning, and I must have pressed the wrong button or something and it started to download, but something happened anyway, it didn't download. So yesterday's morning classes are not there, but the afternoon classes are, and I have not given up. I'm going to try to find them somehow or other. I looked around, I'll ask my son to help me, and he can find almost anything, but God willing, even if we don't find it, God is still with us, and I wish you all a happy Shabbat, and hope to see you all on Sunday morning, 8:15. Shabbat Shalom with Moshiach now.